What's going on, everybody? I'm Jory Goodman, the Time Teller. So guys, when it comes to watch collecting, there's no shortage of opinions, preferences, point of view, perspectives, just a whole bunch of diverse interests within this interest, right? People have preferences when it comes to watchmakers, when it comes to materials used, when it comes to complications, regions. Some people really want to focus on Japanese watches. Some people really love German watches. Some people only want Swiss watches. And some people, are pretty diverse with their sampling in their watch box. For me, I don't really pay too much attention to manufacturer or complication. I just think if the watch is cool, I'll buy it regardless of where it came from. And I'm sure a lot of you guys kind of resonate with that. But I myself am very outspoken when it comes to my opinions, my perspective, my preferences when it comes to, watch collecting and various specific watches. But maybe, just maybe, I've missed something when it comes to a certain watchmaker. Now, I've said I'm never wrong, and I stand by that. But was I wrong about Invicta? You see, a while back, I reviewed their Pro Diver, and I actually went above and beyond and compared it to my Submariner, and people to this day complain about that comparison. They say it's not fair. I didn't give the Invicta a fair shake. Now, if you watch that episode with an open mind, you'll see that the Invicta actually was, pretty reasonably solid, especially for the price. It's just, it's not a Submariner. And I don't think that's an unreasonable comparison or statement, because that Pro Diver was literally designed essentially as a one-to-one of a Rolex Submariner. So, okay, I didn't give Invicta a fair shake. Let's revisit Invicta. So I don't know about you, but when I think of Invicta, I get kind of nervous because I immediately associate that brand name with these huge monstrosities, right? But surely if that Pro Diver was kind of a more palatable take on a watch, there must be another one. Invicta can't only produce these enormous, grotesque hunks of material on your wrist. They can't all be these crazy hockey pucks. There's got to be something out there that's a bit more palatable, like the Invicta Pro Diver, and I have it right here, so I have pretty high hopes. Maybe I've truly been harsh to Invicta. Let's take a look. So, oh, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore, actually. It is 3:27 p.m. Let's get down to business. That's right, guys. All jokes aside, here in this box, sent to me by a viewer, is, I believe this also has the Pro Diver name. It's the reference number 29816. This has gotta be a joke because, well, let's just jump into the dimensions and everything. 51.6 millimeters, 61.8 millimeter lug to lug, 20.2 millimeters thick, and it weighs 314 grams. So with these dimensions, right, and that weight, it must be to accommodate a mechanical movement and a pretty robust water resistance rating. Nope, neither, actually. This is quartz. Pretty basic quartz chronograph with a really bizarre layout we're going to talk about in a moment, and it has a fairly anemic water resistance rating at 100 meters. Now, I'm not saying 100 meters is not enough water resistance. I'm saying that for a watch that's 51.6 by 61.8 by 20.2, you'd think it'd be above 500 meter water resistance rating, but yeah, this doesn't even have a threaded crown, guys. So when we take a look at the sides of the case, you will see that the pushers do have a serrated kind of crown, almost, think Daytona, threaded pushers. Wow. No, those are just for show. The crown doesn't thread. This is really bizarre. It has a timing bezel. It has a Pro Diver name according to the website. This is not a dive watch. Now, speaking of those pushers and the bizarre chronograph layout, when I first unboxed this watch, I thought the chronograph complication was broken. And I actually sent a message to the person who sent this watch to me, and I was like, hey, was the watch damaged when he sent it to me? And ends up the watch was not defective, it was not damaged. It's that chronograph hand that was moving across the dial was actually just the second hand. Okay, I made a whole episode describing what a chronograph is because, believe it or not, a lot of people think that the chronograph hand is the second hand, and they're like, how come when I press a button the second hand stops? I don't understand. Watch that episode, check out the comments. You'd be surprised how many people truly enter the hobby without a full understanding of what a chronograph is, and that's awesome. I didn't know what a chronograph was when I first learned about watches. So anyway, that is actually a second hand. So when I was pressing the pushers and I was like trying to figure out why the chronograph hand wasn't stopping, that's the second hand. The chronograph has actually been relegated to a subdial, which is very weird. I've never seen that before. And essentially, depending on where the hour and minute hand are on the watch, it makes the chronograph complication totally obscured, and it makes it unusable. You can't use that chronograph complication for large swaths of the day. And even if it wasn't obscured for large portions of the day, there's no second markers on that chronograph subdial, so it really wouldn't even be an accurate chronograph at all. Now, this watch does utilize an integrated bracelet system, and it's affixed by like flathead screws, so it's like super industrial, and it's crazy because on the surface you'd think this watch is like overbuilt, right? Wow, 314 grams, 20.2 millimeters thick, 61.8 millimeter lug to lug, flathead screwdrivers with the integrated bracelet, dude. It's all show, man. It has the flimsiest clasp I've ever felt on a watch, and it totally confuses me because the bracelet and the watch head are incredibly heavy and big, and then the clasp is like very flimsy and weak, and it does not instill confidence, in my opinion. So now we're going to jump into the pros and cons. Okay, I've already kind of given you my opinion about this watch, but it is a time teller review, so I have to give you the pros and cons. This is going to be a struggle, okay? But the pros, well, one pro, you could probably beat someone to death with it if you had to. So there's that. Moving on to the cons, it's enormous, it's gaudy, it's heavy, it's non-functional in any way, as far as it being a diver or a chronograph. Push-pull crown with a fairly anemic water resistance rating for its size, has a cheap bracelet with an even worse clasp, and the offset date window. That's kind of the cherry on top. So all in all right, people love to complain about how I don't and didn't and haven't and just never will give Invicta a fair shake. But this is a perfect example of what Invicta predominantly manufactures. Okay, so it's not like I'm just pulling this out of thin air. These are enormous, disgusting paperweights, and they're not even functional. And in my opinion, they don't look good. So they don't feel good, they don't look good, they're not functional. I don't know what the appeal is, but guess what? There's different preferences and opinions in this hobby, so my opinion does not necessarily have to reflect yours, and it's not me speaking on your behalf if you happen to love these watches. I'm not making a comment about you either, okay? I'm making a comment about an inanimate object, so please don't get butt mad at me. But if you do get butt mad at me, leave it in the comment section because each comment helps. Negative, positive, doesn't matter. I get paid either way. Guys, I love you. Thanks for hanging out with me. This is kind of, I know it's going to be a controversial episode, but I want to take a look at another Invicta, and the only Invicta we've taken a look at. We've taken a look at a pre-Invicta Sealand chronograph, which, Sealand was Invicta before they were called Invicta. We've taken a look at the Invicta Pro Diver, and now we're reviewing this 29816. Crazy monstrosity. All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'll catch you on the next one. Stay happy, stay healthy. Stay happy, stay healthy, stay blessed. I'm Jory Goodman. At the time telling, always remember, I didn't invent time. I just tell it.